Hey everyone, Mr. C here. This is a quick guide for round 1 of the 2024 Manufacturers Cup exhibition season. This is taking place at Dragon Trail Gardens in reverse with the Group 3 cars. So let's take a quick look at the race details, where for all GT leagues, it is a 20 lap race where you have to use the racing hard and racing medium tires. Fuel is a ×1, so fuel is not an issue, but tire wear is a ×5, so that will be the main issue for this race. You can adjust your brake balance, and damage is on heavy for GT1 league, so try not to hit anything or anyone. But now let's go on over to the lap guide, where we're going to go through this pretty quickly as there's not much time. That I had to try to get this all ready for round 1, as this kind of just came upon us by surprise. But anyway, so for the final turn, you're turning in before the curb on the left ends, and you can use just a little bit of your braking power, but you don't want to use too much of it because that will slow you down too much for the main straight. Now do note the brake balance I have on the bottom right hand corner of the screen, and the first braking point is right as you pass the 150 meter board. So you're going to be braking as much as you can, gradually making your way down to first gear, turning at the 50 meter board, and you want to be really careful getting back on the throttle and exit on second gear. You got to be careful on the first turn, really easy to spin out, so be careful with your throttle input. Now look for this sign on the right after you go under the bridge, as that is your reference point to start to brake, but you're not going to use all of your braking power. You're using around 50% of your braking power for a short moment and turning in almost immediately after. Then use the Marshall stand on the right as your next braking point. And do note that I am controlling how much braking power I'm using because I still want to maintain my speed, but I also want to be able to turn through these corners. Nice and careful getting back on the throttle, bring yourself towards the left, and you're braking right as you're about to go under this sign just up above. You can brake just a hair bit earlier than where I start to brake. That way you can take advantage of the curb that is on the right. Full braking power for a very short moment. And for this left turn, you can lift off of a throttle. That way you can set yourself up to go flat out through this right corner. Then brake before the 100 meter board. This is a really easy corner to overshoot. So brake before the 100 meter board. Brake as much as you can, and you're going to start to turn in just as you pass the 50 meter board, and be really careful getting back on the throttle. Straighten up the car before you start to go at full throttle power. Then bring yourself towards the left because we're going to get ready to ride some sausages. So bring yourself towards the left, brake before the 100 meter board. I like to use the start of the curb on the left as my cue to start to brake, so I'm braking right as it starts. Full braking power for a short moment, and start to ease off of the brakes as you're turning in after the 50 meter board. You can see I'm going to go ride the sausage down to second gear, a little bit of braking power right there, ride the other sausage, and just be really careful with your throttle input, and do not cheese those curves because your car will go flying off the track. Then just before the curb on the left end, start to turn in, a little bit of throttle control. You can use just a tiny bit of your braking power if you need to adjust the car's direction or speed, but don't use too much brakes as that will start to cost you a bit too much speed. But now let's take a quick look at the race strategy. So I do all of my testing in custom race with equal conditions mode. That way I can do multiple runs and have the same conditions. Now, as you can see, I completely forgot that I am starting with cold tires. So when you're starting your race, or when you're starting a new stint, don't forget that you're going to have cold tires, and you want to be a bit more careful because you're not going to have all the grip, which means you're more prone to making mistakes. So take it a bit easy as you start your new stint or as you start the race. Don't push your car way too much, and as the tires warm up over the first 1 and 2 laps of your stint, you'll be able to get the most grip possible. Now in this run, I started under racing medium tires, so if you're starting towards the front, you can start under racing medium tires to try to get away from everyone else. If you're starting anywhere in the middle or in the back, you can start under racing hard tires to get these slower tire compounds out of the way. So if you're starting under racing medium tires, you're gonna want to try to go for 10 laps on the racing medium tires before switching over to the racing hard tires. Don't forget, you have to use those two tire compounds so you don't get a massive time penalty after the race ends. Now, as I mentioned earlier, fuel is a ×1, so you don't have to worry about fuel at all. Here I'm revving the absolute heck out of the car so I can try to dump some more fuel, which with less fuel the car will get lighter and the tires will be able to last just a little bit longer. And how long your tires last will also depend on the car that you're using and in your driving style. So if you're in a car that likes to chew its tires and you are really harsh on your tires, then you might have a hard time trying to make your tires last 9 or 10 laps. Now going over towards lap number 10, so you can see that my front left tire is actually the one that is taking a bit more of a beating compared to the other tires. So whenever I'm turning right, I'm starting to lose quite a bit of time there. And you do want to be careful once those tires start to wear out, because as you can see, my car is starting to step out a little bit. The car does get a bit understeery at times, so yeah, you're going to want to be a bit more careful there so you don't lose control. And especially here through the series of chicanes, I'm going to try to be really careful here. Just going to play it really safe, not go too fast. Don't want to push it, don't want to push my luck. And when you're ready to pit, when you're going through this final corner, you want to bring yourself all the way to the right and just stay towards the right, because the pit line does come at you pretty quickly, and if you cross that line and then enter the pits, then you're going to get a 3-second penalty. Now, I was on the racing medium tires for this race. I'm going to go ahead and switch on over to the racing hard tires. And since we're only doing a tire change and nothing else, our pit loss is going to be around 15 seconds, so do be aware of that. And once you switch over to the racing hard tires, then just drive a bit carefully, because you need to get your tires warmed up for about a lap or two, and then you can go ahead and proceed as usual. Skipping over towards the end of the race, there is a bit of tire wear, but not too much of an issue, at least for me. With this, I was able to get a 31-minute 8-second race done. Now I will take a quick look at the other side where you start on the racing hard tires and then switch over to the racing medium tires. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look at that, because with this, starting on the racing hard tires, you do need to be even more careful, because cold racing hard tires, there's even less grip. You can see that I'm even stepping out a little bit, and I'm on lap number 2. So yeah, first lap or 2, gotta be careful with those racing hard tires if you're starting on them. If you are starting in the middle or in the back of the grid, then you might want to consider starting on the racing hard tires, just so you can get the slower tire compound out of the way and save the faster tire compound for the second half of the race. So when you switch over to the racing medium tires, your car will be lighter because it has used up a bit of fuel, which means you'll be able to go slightly faster and your tires will last a little bit longer, which means if you and your car are decent at tire saving, then you'll be able to squeeze in an extra lap on the racing medium tires. So it is possible to do a strategy like 9 laps on the hard tires and 11 laps on the medium tires. You will be able to get a slightly faster run, but because you're doing an extra lap on the medium tires, if you start to get a bit too harsh on your tires, then you do risk wearing out your tires a bit too quickly, which can put you at a disadvantage towards the end of the race. So that is something that you do want to be careful with if you are choosing to go on the racing medium tires at the start of lap number 10. And yeah, do be careful with those curves at the chicane. It is possible to get a track penalty, which can make things a bit awkward. And skipping over towards the end of the race, I was able to get a 131.1, which I think that's a decent time for me, as I don't play this game that much anymore, but trying to get back into it. So I am a bit rusty. The tires are wearing out, so the car is starting to feel a little sketchy to use, so do got to be a bit more careful with the car as the tires start to wear out. And as we go through the final lap, I do apologize for this super scuffed video, as yeah, this exhibition season just showed up out of nowhere, and didn't have too much time to try to get everything ready. So doing it as quickly as possible, and hopefully this guide helps you out in any way, shape, or form. But as we go through this corner, this hairpin is really easy to overshoot. I overshot it so many times, so you do want to get that braking point nailed down. Same goes with the chicane up ahead. If you feel like you're going to miss riding the sausages, you might as well just go around it. Don't hit the sausage with your wheels, because that can make some things really awkward. You could end up flying off to Narnia, so you don't hit those curves with the wheel. It's either you ride the sausage or go around them. Don't hit them. But anyways, with this one, I was able to get a slightly faster run, getting a 31 minute and 2 second run, and that is counting the penalty that I got towards the end of the race due to track limits. But yeah, this run was slightly faster, but I think part of it has to do with me having a bit more time behind the wheel, so I was able to go a bit faster. But I think both strategies are viable, and it's mostly going to depend on where you're starting. If you're starting towards the front, you can start under racing medium tires and try to get away from everyone else, try to avoid getting into any sort of fights. If you're starting towards the middle or the back, you can start under racing hard tires, get the slower tire compound out of the way, and save the faster tire compound for when your car is a bit lighter. Either way, you're pitting around the halfway point in the race. But that is it for this super scuffed video. Good luck in your race, and I'll see you in the next video, where I'll have more time to get everything laid out and it won't be as scuffed as this. So see you in the next video.